Thank you so much to GBTA for the invitation. I am Ben Proler from Shell Aviation. I think most of the folks in the audience are also from Shell. So if you have any questions about Avelia, just look for the Shell badge or anybody that's at the Amex GBT booth or at the Shell booth. I also want to give a special credit before we get into like what is Avelia, what are we talking about here today. This project is about a 3 to 4 year evolution. And there's a lot of people in the audience that have worked sweatless, tireless, hourless to make this possible. And I appreciate all your hard work. I just get to be the one that talks about it here, but really appreciate this effort. It is truly groundbreaking, and we're so excited to present it today. So first off, greetings from the Shell Legal Department. This is our details, our cautionary non-disclaimer form. If you have any other information or questions, go to shell.com for what we can and can't say. So sustainable aviation fuel, the last panel earlier today with our airline sustainability partners talked about what actually is SAF. In the space of aviation, for Shell, you're probably curious, what is Shell doing at an event like GBTA? Well, starting off that we're a maker of refined products, diesel, gasoline, jet fuel. Diesel, gasoline, over the course of time, we'll see a decrease in demand. Jet fuel, over the course of time, we'll see an increase in demand. So this begs a question for an organization like Shell, who's committed to a net carbon zero target by 2050, what do? We focus a bit on sustainable aviation fuel. It is one of the biggest pathways to decarbonize aviation, which is a hard-to-abate sector. And so SAF, as this grand target, Shell has set a target by 2030 to have 10% of our sales being SAF. The industry, we're following groups like IATA that have said by 2050 we'll be net zero. Shell too will be net zero. So now it becomes this question of like, what is SAF and how much of it is there actually into the broader ecosphere? Today there isn't much of it. We use this example in the business that the amount of SAF that is consumed annually is about the amount of fuel consumed in a given day at the San Francisco airport. So you're talking millions of gallons of fuels produced in a given year, whereas the jet fuel conventional demand is about billions and billions of gallons all around the globe. So our big question here and why we're at GBTA is scale. How do we scale this product that will help the aviation sector decarbonize? And that's when we get into this idea of collaboration. There's many people in this room that got together a few years ago and thought about, who are we talking to scale sustainable aviation fuel? Well, traditionally we were just talking to airlines. That was who Shell Aviation sold jet fuel to. But the more and more we started to talk about SAF, we started to realize that there's a very, very interested party in corporations, corporate travel management programs, NGOs, and the like. And so that really left us with this perplexity of, well, let's collaborate together. From the corporate travel perspective, 80 to 90% of corporate emissions by corporations are aviation travel. So this is a big key topic for corporations that are here at GBTA. And so Shell, amongst with Amex GBT and Accenture as one of our initial partners, we got together to discuss a kind of revolutionary way of tracking SAF, the fuel that's actually distributed into the network, how those emissions can be allocated between a Scope 1 end user and a Scope 3 end user, and then how we can get more parties involved in this demand problem. The demand problem being the more people you get, the higher and better accessibility it is to scale. So enter in Avelia. Avelia is this idea that all came together around the book and claim tool used to track physical SAF into the ecosphere. And that physical SAF would be allocated between corporations for the Scope 3 and then airlines and others for Scope 1. And we're still trying to advocate for adoption of this book and claim methodology. But the blockchain was really our intent to have a tool that was used to trace and be an accessible ledger for what we were actually selling, the Scope 1 and Scope 3 attributes. So it's kind of a difficult thing to explain, blockchain in itself, this book and claim methodology, what is Scope 1, Scope 3. So thanks to our great team at Shell, they put together a video that does that for me. So I'm just going to play that and answer any questions on the back end.
Built by Shell and Accenture with support from the Energy Web Foundation, Avelia is one of the first blockchain-powered book and claim solutions that enables companies to connect with airlines all over the world and share the environmental benefits of SAF. It's a solution that creates the scale of demand necessary to signal the increase in production and supply that would result in more affordable SAF. When you contribute the cost coast of SAF, it will be delivered into the aviation fuel network, and you will gain access to its environmental attribute data. No matter where in the world the SAF is used to power a flight, you are the only airline or company that owns this data, and could potentially use it to claim a carbon reduction. Shell, with its technical and product expertise, logistics supply chain, and extensive global network, will leverage aggregate demand to enable clearer signals for investment in new refineries, so that supply can rise to meet the new demand. American Express Global Business Travel, the world's leading B2B travel platform with expertise in managing various facets of travel, will work with you to advise you on how to modify your travel policies to reduce your carbon footprint, including playing a role in increasing global demand for SAF. So, ultimately, with Avelia, multiple parties will benefit by being able to purchase SAF at a more affordable price while increasing the SAF supply globally. Benefits of Avelia for airlines. Avelia will complement your corporate travel programs and will give you access to additional SAF supply. It will also allow you to tap into more corporate customers willing to pay a premium for SAF that you wouldn't normally have access to. More than just a blockchain-powered platform for tracking SAF's environmental attributes, Avelia also aims to drive acceptance of the book and claim model. The bigger the first phase of the Avelia program, the more opportunities there will be to demonstrate credibility. Establishing an industry-accepted book and claim mechanism will mean that airlines and companies that invest in SAF can authenticate, record, and report the associated emissions reduction benefits towards voluntary ESG reporting. Corporations can then meet their ESG goals while maintaining the value that air travel brings to the world. You can also benefit from the continued support of more corporations participating in co-funding the future supply of SAF, so you won't be financing the cost alone. Avelia tools for corporations. Choice. You can use bespoke calculators to help set air travel emissions targets that best suit your circumstances, such as budget and targets. Then, based on your travel patterns, you can decide which airlines to work with to purchase the environmental attributes of SAF. Transparency. The digital services and personalized dashboard provide full transparency and control over your data. They help you translate your purchases into emissions reduction progress against set targets, which you can simply report to stakeholders and track against your corporate commitments. Confidence. The emissions saved from the production and use of SAF compared to conventional jet fuel can be tracked and verified. Powered by blockchain, the digital platform will make accessing and taking advantage of the environmental attributes of SAF easy for you, avoiding double counting, so that they can be used in confidence to calculate your greenhouse gas inventory. In the future, they could be used to reduce the greenhouse gas inventory of airlines and companies. This functionality is designed to help make it easier for companies to purchase the environmental attributes of SAF with confidence. In future, we hope to integrate this further into travel management and corporate sustainability tools and expand capabilities based on your needs.
So again, I appreciate the Shell team for putting that video together. I think it's a really great summary of what we're trying to achieve in Avelia. Our next steps are kind of as follows. So we've launched Avelia, and now what its purpose is in our pilot is twofold, really. One is to scale supply of SAF, to continue to grow demand from unique customers like corporations. And the second, I think, what might be the most critical is adoption of the book and claim methodology with various NGOs and government organizations to help buy in so this carbon accounting can be adopted across really the entire industry. What sets us apart beyond just the technology is really the fact that we have integrated so many different people into this collaborative space. You think about like the people who have signed up with us at the beginning, Accenture, MXGBT, Energy Web. This really is a collaboration of multiple different stakeholders. And again, for Shell, this is very unique. For us, this is the intersection of sustainability and technology, which is really exciting. We talk about blockchain as a technology. Probably the last person in this room to talk about blockchain and what its feasibility is. But ultimately, it provides an accessible and traceable ledger. And that's really key from the carbon accounting perspective is can you provide an open source platform where governance bodies and auditors can look back and see that this SAF, this lower carbon fuel that has attributes that have been allocated to an airline, perhaps as a scope 1 and a corporation for a scope 3, it's all accessible and visible for that auditor to see. It's very unique in this space, and we feel like it's very important for a scale of SAF. And ultimately, it comes down to collaboration with airlines and corporations in that mix and driving that even further. We said that Avelia is really collaborative and it is additional in how it can help airlines. And we've been very clear about that from the beginning, in that it can help the airline's own corporate programs by using this technology and ultimately the carbon accounting adoptions.
So therefore, it's a win-win. We really believe that with the adoption of airlines being able to use their own corporate SAF programs and integrate further into our own carbon accounting methodology, to partner with us from a scope 1,
obtaining the scope 1 and sharing with us in their corporations and us doing vice versa. We really feel like we have an opportunity to scale SAF in ways that we really didn't believe were possible prior to Avelia. So for us, what's next? And if you have any questions, again, the Shell team, myself, happy to answer that further. The next steps is adoption across really the carbon accounting guidelines. It's understanding and testing this pilot with corporations and airlines, understanding how we're tracing this on blockchain, getting the industry to accept our book and claim methodology so that we can set ourselves up for scale in the future. So with that, again, an introduction to Avelia. I hope it was helpful. I hope you got a little bit more sense of what blockchain is for us, how we're scaling SAF, how we're understanding that low carbon fuels can be adopted onto new platforms, and how we're integrating in corporations and airlines into this mix. Again, very excited to be here. This is an atraditional place for Shell, but please ask us any questions you have. I don't know if I have time in the time remaining here, but the Shell colleagues are all around, so please feel free and ask them questions as well. Thank you for your time.